Whoa. Hello. Hey, everybody. Rex Bear Leak Project. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Gorgeous out here in Southern Colorado, high elevation. And look who it is. The man, the myth, the living legend, Dr. Kevin Hogan. This guy is one of my best friends, and he is so knowledgeable when it comes to the power of the mind. So let's go back. 18 years ago, I picked up a book called The Psychology of Persuasion. It blew my mind. I'm working with but let's just put it this way. The people that I'm working with, I consider to be the Formula One of their fields. And I'm a noob. I'm like, how do you guys do this? I thought I was good at what I did before. And then I'm working around all these just super amazing people. And I get this book. The book blows me away, Psychology of Persuasion. And then all my coworkers want to borrow it. And they love it. And then I'm like, okay, this guy's amazing. I'm going to start reading his stuff. And I didn't meet you, Kevin. We met like we met probably 7-8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't even know Kevin at the time when I'm reading these books. And then I find out I get another book called Clandestine or Covert Hypnosis. Covert Hypnosis blew me away. I'm like, wow, people can hypnotize other people just by talking to them in a regular conversation. This is kind of spooky. It's frightening and it's fascinating. So fast forward 10 years from the time that I picked up Psychology of Persuasion, 10, 12 years, Kevin and I do an awesome interview on Leak Project. It gets over 100,000 views, and we have some great shows together. And I'm like, you know what? This is really cool. The fact that you can influence people for the right reasons with conversation is amazing. I thought, let's not let the bad guys do all the hypnosis. Let's get some good guys out there doing some hypnosis and helping people out, because people are pretty stubborn. So I've also found out that the people you hang out with and the people you surround yourself with oftentimes can influence you in ways that are pretty spooky. I'll give you an example. So according to a classic study, we're about 75% more likely to go through a divorce if a direct friend of ours gets a divorce. And then what does it say? So if a direct friend is divorced, and approximately 33% more likely if a friend of a friend is divorced. So this suggests that divorce may spread through social networks up to 2 degrees of separation. This is one of many. Wait till we get into the statistics of like heart attacks and stuff. Super frightening. There's also ways to offset that. And Kevin and I have talked about that. And we're going to talk about that today. So that's why this podcast is titled Contagion, because the power of the nocebo and the placebo is very real. And Kevin, it is great to see you. Thank you for being a guest on Leak Project. It's been way too long. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk with you. It's been a while since I've seen you because you've been busy. You've been doing amazing shows, and it's been a blast watching, your work and seeing the photographs of some of the things that you've seen that I've never seen. And cool. I just love what you're doing right now. It's just amazing.
Well, thank you. I'll send you check, or I can do Venmo. Your choice. Just let me know. Folks, this is really cool. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Noble Gold Investments. If you have a 401 or an IRA, now is the time to convert into gold and precious metals. And a couple of days ago, I talked to Colin Plume, the founder of Noble Gold Investments, the CEO. He said, let him know that you sent him. Just say, hey, Leak Project sent me. Give them a call, 1-877-646-5347, or go to noblegoldinvestments.com. And they will give you, if you convert your 401 or IRA, 15 ounces of silver. Now, their traditional promotion for this month is a 10-ounce silver bar, American flag silver bar. But if you say, hey, Rex sent me from Leak Project, they're going to kick you down another 5 ounces of silver. Take advantage of this opportunity. Silver, there's some great opportunities. Now, there's obviously never any guarantees. So follow what the money funders are doing. There's even hedge fund managers right now usurping gold and precious metals. Hedge fund managers, and they're usually into anyway. So super cool. Noble Gold Investments. Give them a call. You'll thank me later. And Kevin, let's get into this, man. So where did you find out about this? Oh, real quick, folks, go to kevinhogan.com. Go to kevinhogan.com, and you can see Kevin has this really cool email service called Coffee with Kevin. Did I say that right? Coffee with Kevin. And then you get access to the emails, updates, and all that kind of stuff, and the latest and greatest information, the cutting edge in neuro-linguistic programming, psychology, hypnosis. I like to call it mind dynamics. Somebody's probably already coined that, mind dynamics, but I think it sounds pretty cool. So anyway, there you go. Kevin, let's rock and roll, man.
Contagion, about I don't know. When I was in college, there was this study that I was reading. It was on, it's an ongoing study that started in the 50s, I'm going to make a number up and somebody can fact check me later, but right around 1955, about that. And when I was in school, that's 30 years after that. And I'm reading this study it was called the Framingham Heart Study. And this is out in Massachusetts, and they were just trying to figure out, like, what is it that causes heart disease? Why are people dying from this? Like, people shouldn't. And people die in clusters. There's clusters and groups, little pockets in cities, and people often attribute those little pockets to other things, like, oh, well, maybe there's like some radiation or whatever. But really, it's much more interesting than that. What for the Framingham study, and this is as of 1985. Now, by the way, 1985 is about 40 years ago. Okay, so in the last 40 years, this study has continued. But instead of just studying who's going to die from a heart attack and how do you predict it, okay, we already knew that genetics was the number one factor. Okay, and then that and we thought that our health and our health habits were the number two, but it turns out that's not even close to correct. The second biggest factor is the 5 to 8 people that you're closest to, and so what we knew in 1985 already, and there was thousands of people in the study at the time. I'm going to say 5,000. I'm making that number up too. It could have been 10, could have been 3, but right around there. And so you got 5,000 people in this study. And what they find is the 5 to 8 people that are closest. And the reason it's not a specific number like 7 or something like that is because a lot of people live in a house with, say, 8 people or 2 people. Big differences. And so their social network then is usually what we consider that is the best friends that you have, the people that you actually talk to and are connected to. And so that's the 5 to 8 people. And it used to be that the most current research, by the way, is that the average person has 2.3 best friends, like people they like would trust their life with. Today, it's 1.1. 1.1. So in other words, the trust level between people and the connection of friendship, real friendship, has reduced dramatically in the last 20 years. So there's a lot going on here. So the first thing is you've got 5 to 8 people in your social network. So whoever you're actually physically talking to, whether it's like what you and I are doing right now, you and I influence each other because I've got, specific friends, you, Deb, Rhonda, Gary, Scott, Dev, and, there's about 7 or 8 people that are in my social network that matter a lot to me, because if one of you guys has heart issues, the probability that I'm going to have heart issues is going to go from 0, whatever the number is. For me, say it's 12% or whatever, and it's going to go up 75% chance more. So in other words, maybe instead of 12%, it would go up to about 20%. Now, these are huge numbers. What's fascinating is that if I change the people that are my friends, like if I say, I really need to spend more time with this person, it's not just going to affect your heart health. Now, let's talk about some of the other things that are impacted here. Your divorce rate, the probability of divorce. Divorce is right around 40%, 50%, depends on what part of the country you live in. But if in one of us in the 5 to 8 people network here, our good friend network, if just one of us gets a divorce, our probability for us getting a divorce goes up 75%. Okay, that's 75% greater than 40%, which means you're up to now 70% chance of getting a divorce. In other words, you might as well start writing the checks now and getting a new place to live, because it's extremely likely. So now this does not mean that you want to get rid of that person out of your social network necessarily, because that person also, their income, you're influenced by their income. So there's not just the bad stuff, there's also the good stuff, the good things. And people with higher numbers of friends tend to hang out with people with higher number of friends. That's kind of cool too. It also increases your chances of having problems. Now, here's the thing. Let's just say that I had a good year financially this year. let's just say that I'm making quite a bit of money. So my 5 to 8 people network is more likely to do well as also. All right. But let's say that none of us have any heart issues. We don't have any divorce issues. We're all making the same amount of money as we always have. And then all of a sudden, let's say that Devin, my buddy Devin, let's say that one of his friends, his 5 to 8 circle gets a divorce or loses, goes bankrupt or whatever. Then the probability of all of us goes up to by 33%, or about 30. Well, actually, I think it's 35% is the average number for these various causal things. And it's because of mimetics, because it's not like you and I've never mentioned my friend's Devin's name on your show, but yet you know about him through me, because sometimes I'll say things that he would say. I'll emulate his mimetically, just like he has an idea and I'll share it, but I won't say, oh, and by the way, that was from Devin, or that was from Scott or Rhonda or Deb. So just through those subtle mentions, and this should both scare people and make them cautious and wary about what you talk about. The people are often very, very easy to disrespect something or some people or whatever. Probably best not to do that, because you're carrying it's almost like a cosmic vibration, if you want to look at from the pseudo scientific side. Like what they do, what's happening to them goes through me and it gets over to Rex. And that's weird and it's crazy, but it's 35% greater chance of the thing happening. This is true for income. It's true for getting married. It's true for getting divorced. It's true for your heart. It's true for diabetes. It's true for so many different things. There's like a list a mile long that they're studying, and it's still going on today. This study continues, and it'll continue ad infinitum. It's really one of the most impressive things. So the first thing that's worth thinking about here, is okay, so do I want to have because things changed, 25 years ago. We had the internet already in 1995, but it really wasn't the internet, Facebook internet or MySpace internet until about 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, we started to actually collect people and put them on our website, or on our Facebook, say. Now I've got about 5,000 people, give or take, on one of my pages, and I've got another 1,500. You've got about 400,000 people that follow you on Leak Project. These people write us notes and they drop us letters and they email us and they send us messages and audios. I'll send you a clip of something. You'll send me pictures of something. So we're constantly sharing, and all of this sharing these are what we call weak ties versus what I've mentioned earlier, which were all strong ties. When it's face-to-face communication, it goes a long time, and we're actually having a 2-hour conversation once a week or once every couple of weeks. That's a real influence. That's a strong tie, and strong ties are they're valuable. They're the most influential on us, the most influential. But weak ties, I'm going to show a photo. Do we have a PowerPoint, or did I get that to you? I don't even remember if I got it to you or not. Because if we do, then I can actually go down and I can give you we can. And by the way, because this is a very short PowerPoint, I'm not going to sit and be a professor for everybody today. So, I'm going to touch on all these things. Yeah.
Real quick, let me just throw this out there, folks. So I know there's going to be a lot of people after the presentation. They're going to be emailing me wanting more information about this, or you as well. We have an event coming up that will be we're going to dive very deep into this and other modalities. So you definitely want to get there, and it's going to be via Zoom. So it's not going to be a huge group either. It's going to be a lot of, personal, one-on-one, and it's going to be a smaller group. So if you want to attend that, send me an email at leakproject.com and we'll get you on the invite list.
Yeah, for sure. I see that Contagion was good enough to get up there twice. See how good this is? Okay, so Contagion, brainwashing, thought control, mind manipulation, dangerous memes, the domino effect. I'm going to touch on all of these things in this presentation, but I'm not going to go super deep or anything like that, because it's a course. It's a course. It's a lot of material. But these are the things that are controlling us right now and have been forever. And Contagion is the first one. And Contagion is that let's go ahead and go on, because I don't actually have a slide on a toolbar. Yeah. So summary: hidden impacts on those few influences that completely destroy or complete your life. In other words, it can be good or it can be a disaster. And some people don't pick their friends; they happen randomly. Sort of like, think about this: when people go to school, whether it's high school or college or whatever, you get out. Now you're out. And then all of a sudden you take your resumes and you sent them out, whether it's online or do it whatever digitally. And then somebody says, hey, would you like, yeah, we'd like to have you here, work here. And all of a sudden you get so excited and you take your very first offer. Your very first offer. You want to talk about random? Like maybe that guy had a good day that day or a bad day and he didn't want to do anything else and he sent it out. And people, they don't think about, like, it's like, I got an offer. I'm gonna be working here, and I'm so excited. Whew, wow. But wait a second. You didn't choose that. They chose you. Now, maybe that's wonderful. That could be wonderful. It could be a disaster. Okay. So people need to think, do I really want to work there? Is that the environment that I want? It's the same thing with your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend, your husband. You can't choose your kids. But you can choose the people that you hang out from day to day going forward. And your kids are influential on you too, although their influence is less than an adult on average. There's some exceptions, but on average. So your friends they matter, your family. And when I'm talking friends, I'm talking people who will say, oh, Rex, today I had a really bad day. And you'll go, yeah, Kev, I'm sorry to hear that. That really sucks. As opposed to the person on video, the product, Kevin Hogan, that guy who really shouldn't have a bad day. He should be having a pretty good day all the time. But of course, people don't have good days all the time. Sometimes they have bad days. So the friends are the people that you're willing to share the challenges of life with. That's what a friend is. And your family is the people that you live with. So your dad in a different state is not probably going to be very relevant unless you're in touch with him via, Facebook chat or whatever like that. But mostly people you visually see, you come into contact with, you hear them, and you guys disagree about things and you agree about things and you share things. And finally, about 4 to 8 people. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just had a quick question about that because, I was adopted by my dad, not by my mom. So I grew up with my bio mom and my dad that adopted me. I consider my real dad because he raised me, but my biological dad and I, even though we didn't meet for many years and we didn't really become close until maybe a few years ago, we ended up buying the same cars even. Like I bought this really a sporty Subaru WRX hatchback, a black one with the turbos, 300 horsepower, all this. And guess what? He bought that same car, hatchback, everything, like just a few years before I bought the same car. So the similarities with DNA also, it seems like there's a very strong connection oftentimes with the DNA.
Well, yes. And by the way, I've actually broached this with you once before, a long time ago, maybe a year ago. We were doing a podcast and I told you that at the time that I shared with you, I told you, I said something along the lines of determinism. We're free will is real. There is free will, but not very much. And some scientists, and I can make a really good argument for some of the best scientists out there, that there will tell you there is absolutely no free will. And I can, in the course, I'll explain how that argument plays out because it's pretty powerful. And what you just described. But here's the deal. Not everybody had the Subaru experience, right? Not everybody did. So the question is why? Well, the question is the similarity of the networks. Are the networks similar in the similar types of people? Some people are very religious. Some people are not religious at all. Some people have certain characteristics that are really cool. Your tribe is your vibe. I like that. Okay. Thank you, Wesley. So hello from Holland. Hey, good to see you, Real Dutch Wolf. So Real Dutch Wolf has buddies out there, and some of them he talks to are probably not in the Netherlands. He probably talks to 1 or 2 people a month consistently, maybe in the UK or maybe next door over in, Germany or wherever. And those people can be in this cluster of 5 to 8. So you really want to choose who you're spending time with. Now, there is another variable here, by the way, with contagion, what you watch on podcasts, because you have humans. Thank you very much. What you watch on podcasts is not a relationship, but it feels like a relationship, because you guys all communicate with Rex, and he will often acknowledge you and connect with you, and maybe you'll drop him an email, and maybe he'll drop you an email back. Most people who do podcasts can't pull that off. It's just not possible, because you don't have enough hours in your month to pull that off. But you feel like you're in a relationship with the person who that is, because you listen to them all the time. So even when I don't see Rex for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, because I've traveled a lot lately, I wanted to see what people are like all over the world this year, and I've been to where I just came back. I'm still jet lagged, and I got back 2 weeks ago. But I've spent 5 months in China, the Philippines, and Indonesia, and I was curious to see the differences in the cultures, because, like, after all, they're all Asians, and I always tease my Asian friends, because I have a lot of them that are very cool people, and they take it very well. When a little ribbing here and there, and then of course, because I'm an American, they really got a lot to pick on me about. So you learn that this contagion is the same thing in Asia. When I just did 2 events, one in Bali and one in Jakarta, and we talked about contagion for about 4 hours, and I showed everyone how to use this to improve your life as opposed to destroy it, which is what happens most of the time, because we don't. Sometimes you have to cherry pick the people you want to hang out with, and sometimes you have to say goodbye. Sometimes it's like, this person just does too much stuff that is not in my okie dokie wheelhouse here of goodness. And I'm not saying everybody has to be a saint or perfect or anything like that, but I do really think you want to look. You can't choose your mom, although your mom is a pretty cool person, very cool actually. But you can choose your friends, and you really should, by the way. And I'm incredibly fussy on who I'll talk to, very fussy, because when I started to read the depth of this study, the Framingham, and it's still called the Framingham study. There's several offshoot studies that have come out too, and there are about, and I'm making up this number. You guys can fact check it, but it's about 150 professors that are working on this study right now from around the world, and collecting and seeing what influences there are. And we've got quite a few. Let's see. I think I wrote them down, a couple down, but maybe not. Let's see what we got next. That's what we were there. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Or income. Oh yeah. I'm really good at 2:00 in the morning. All right. So that would be your income. Okay. Your health, your job stat, how fast do you go up and down at the office, whether you're going to get fired or get demoted or promoted, is going to impact Rex's life for me. So if I get 10 gigs this week, it's going to impact Rex. It's going to actually make his life more busy or better in some way. If 10 gigs is good, and I would love to do 10, I don't know, not in a month. No, that's just too much. But 5 days a month is good. So, but if I'm doing that, and if I'm good, it impacts Rex. And if I'm not doing good, that impacts Rex. And it goes then to his friends that I don't even know their names. Okay. That's how important this is. Your health. And I mean, when I'm talking about your health, you can look under Framingham study online. There's so much about this, but diabetes comes to mind immediately, obviously heart, pretty much everything. And so your health is, it's mimetic also. It's contagion. How you vote. This is so weird. Remember that guy. So Rex's buddy, who I've never met, we'll call him Bill. So here's Bill out there, right? And Bill and Rex talk all the time. And then they talk about who they're going to vote for. And Rex lives somewhere out in the mountains. And I don't know how he's going to even get to a voting station, but maybe he's going to go vote. So he's going to vote. And that's going to impact me for sure. But it's also going to impact the rest of the people in my wheelhouse, in my wheel, that no one there knows Rex out of this group. No one. And yet Rex is influenced every single day by all the people in my wheelhouse. every single day because you're the third person. So the probability, if one of those people's health goes down, say that they get diabetes, say they get heart attack or whatever, the probability of Rex getting it goes up by a third. That's wild, right? And if you have multiple people in your wheel that get sick with the same thing, which it, by the way, does happen statistically, it has to. And so that means that if this is me, and then here's my friends, right? These are my friends. And here's Rex. He's going to be influenced by all these people. Here's his friends, and I'm influenced by all those people. So I don't even know them. And so I'm always, whenever I talk to people, I always say, choose your friends wisely. My grandma was right about this. Like, be really careful who you pick. How much you weigh, Rex's best friends is going to impact my weight without me ever meeting them. Okay? Their marital status, their success level, whether it comes, and I'm talking finances, money, how much they save. And it's interesting that Rex is a promoter of this gold retirement program. And I don't know whether or not this is relevant, but he and I wanted to take this year completely off, and I've done almost that. So I cashed out about $100,000 of gold, and I had told Rex maybe a year and a half ago, and I said, if we see gold go past 2,100, the sky will be the limit. And then within weeks, gold went to 2,400, and now this is a year later, and you're up to 32-ish, 3,200. So it's interesting how many people collect gold. I mean, very few people, but these two people do, and that was before we talked about it. And for me, it was simply because the people in my wheel, my mentors, they all collected gold and silver. They called it junk silver. I didn't even know what it was until I was 40 years old. And I was like, really? Junk silver? Why would you call? Oh, I get it. It stays in my house. I like that. That's cool. And so, yeah. And by the way, when you were talking about 15 ounces of silver, that's about $500. So here's the deal. Silver right now is 1/100th the price of gold. And I'm selling your product for you, basically. Silver right now is one of the best investments a person can make because it's 1/100th the price of gold. It should be a little less than 1/50th. Okay. So in other words, silver should double in a very reasonable amount of time. 1 to 2, 3 years, something like that. Now, if you need addiction and the chance at a roulette wheel and you want to try to double it all tonight, good luck. Go for it. Call me and tell me how it turned out. It didn't. It's not going to work. Okay. But silver is a solid investment. And gold will always cycle. It'll always cycle. But if you go back, if you look at a study and you compare the gold to the S&P 500 for the last year, the last 5 years, the last 10 years, the last 20 years, the last 50 years, gold has outperformed the S&P 500 dramatically over all of those periods. It's real money. So anyhow, by sharing that with you, you become more likely to actually go and buy gold, or maybe even the gold retirement concept. I like both ideas, by the way. I like physical gold, and I also like the idea of I have a retirement, actually. I get so tempted to look up here, click on the thing and see how I'm doing. Like I own so much gold, it's ridiculous. And so I'm always like really curious to see how it's. I'm going to actually click off of that. I'm going to get out of there. Schwab.
All right.
No, I won't think about it. So Contagion, it changes all these things. And if you look at all of those things, your marital status, your success, that also means failure. Your weight, you could be obese or you could be thin. You could be conservative. You could be liberal. But maybe you should evaluate, and you can, and I can, and Rex can, and we can all reevaluate what we want instead of where we are. And this is how you defuse the poison of contagion. Because all the people over here, all of my friends, I tell you what, I envy their lives. I really do, because I look at them, and Rhonda, like one of them, the people I'm closest to, she just sent me a picture of a 40-foot RV, $1 million, a $1 million RV. And she says, Kev, she says, we are now going to live. And because she worked, She made this massive amount of money. I was her mentor, and then she sends me a picture of the most beautiful RV I've ever seen in my life. And it's interesting because Rex has his own sort of pseudo recreational vehicle, which was his little investigatorial. I don't know what to call it. It was almost like a van type of a unit, as I recall. And it's ironic because very few people own these types of vehicles, very few, and yet 2 people in my direct circle out of 7, 2 out of 7 own, at least. I haven't even thought about asking Scott and the others, but 2 out of 7 own it. That makes me more likely to buy one very soon. Okay. But we want to think about each of these things. So when it comes to your income, look at the circle of the people that are around you, because you can't control your friends' friends. But one thing is for sure, your friends are good predictors of who their friends are, what they're like. So if you've been sort of on the edge and you're like, I think this person's like, they're smoking is just a little it's bugging me too much. Well, maybe that's fine with you. You're cool with it. So great. That's all right. But think about it. Just think about it. Is that really where you want to go? As you look at your circle of friends, because if I'm out here and I know you, but I don't know them, they're influencing me too. Rex literally changes my life by the people he hangs out with.
That is just so wild. I mean, that is so let's say that there's somebody you really care about, that's your friend, that you've been friends with for a long time, and you don't like some of the stuff that they're doing. How do you protect yourself without saying, hey, man, we're going to have to part ways?
Well, one of the things you can do is to say, what if I don't have any friends? You're probably lucky. You're probably no, actually, this is not true. Nice to see you there. Targeted patent. I like that. But if somebody doesn't have friends, they actually are at disadvantage, because the less people that we have, there's a curve, right? And it's actually like this. You don't want more than 8 close people to you. And it's really hard to have more than 8 anyway. But you also don't want 0, because when you're 0, the research, the real good research, and I want to talk about research in a second too, because people will quote research studies, and 40% of all psychological studies are BS. Okay, 40%. They made it up to get a grade, and that was it. Okay, that's the reality. And so I have to go and be the person who actually goes and fact checks all the stuff. I find out who sponsored studies. I find out who sponsored the magazine that it appeared in, the journal it appeared in. Sometimes journals will pay to have. Hey there. Hey, good to see you. I love it. This one's for you, man. Count Trapula. I like that. So where was I? Oh, research. So when you hear somebody quote a study, you can get any results you want on Google. Just change the question to the opposite of what you asked. So really don't believe much of anything until you find out how much did the journal pay to get that article, the author, and how much did the sponsor pay the journal? Okay, because somebody sponsors these things, and we live in a very different age than we did just 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when this didn't happen. In those days, literally just 20 years ago, you could believe if it came out in research, the probability it was right was almost 99%. Today, that's not true. Even in science, in the hard sciences, whether it's astronomy or geology, we know that 10% of the research is faked. So it's worth learning who's paying the bills here, who's cutting who a check. There's that old saying, follow the money, right? It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's a conspiracy fact. So you need to know, and you've got to listen to the right people, because I'm telling you, you can frame something. And this is part of what I get paid to do, right? I get paid to frame things so people change, or countries change, or companies change. And I have to frame a situation so they change to be more profitable, to be more at peace. I've done this for literally my whole life now, almost, except for the first 30 years, and I actually survived a couple of marriages along the way. That's nuclear. So So anyhow, so contagion. Be aware of it. Be aware and communicate with your friend and say, you know what? I was watching this show the other day called Leak Project on YouTube. You got to check it out. And the best thing you can do is see if you can get them to watch like this video. This is that most elegant way to do it. And as people see, because when you listen to your friend tell you something and you say, don't do this to your friend, that's like mom talking to your kid. You know, it's like, now, honey, don't do that. And of course, then you go do it. Right. And friends sort of have that impact too. If you can afford to buy, it's always worth it buying gold. Yeah, absolutely, Catherine. Oh, nice to see you. Yeah, Catherine's awesome. Yeah, that's it. It's always worth buying gold. People always say, how much should I buy? I say an ounce a month. Just buy an ounce a month. That's all. Or a half ounce a month or whatever you can afford. You know, but be consistent, and you'll be surprised when you cash out and you want to take the year off and just go, you know what? Hey, girly. So talk to your friends, but be elegant and don't tell them, hey, you got to stop doing that, man, or else. You know, Rex says, Kev, are you still drinking Diet Coke? And I said, no, I'm going down to Diet Pepsi now. 50% of the problem causes him pain. However, I started the show with water. And he's like, what is that, water? Because he thinks it's vodka probably, right? And so but it's water. And that's how I started it. So I'm like doing a 5-for-1 deal here. So I'm only doing like 20% of the problem that I had. Rex, just because of you, listen to this. You told me, oh, God, and I think I quit because of you, because I just got tired of listening to it. And you would say, are you still doing this? Are you still doing this? Are you still doing this? As if your health habits are perfect. Nevertheless, I got tired of hearing it. And so I went from about 2 cases a day, about 20 Diet Cokes a day. And today it's about 3 Diet Pepsis. So I have improved 85% because of your badgering me. Okay. So I'm
so glad to hear that, man. I'm so glad to hear that you've cut down on the neurotoxins. Good job, Kevin. See, we need you. And think of how much more productive you are. You got to feel better not drinking 20 of those a day. I don't care how superhuman you are. Oh, no,
I do feel better. I get more done. I mean, it's all of those things. I do feel better. The digestive system is better. I can feel that. I haven't seen an impact on the thinking yet. And I sort of test that often enough. You know, I'll actually take an IQ test about once a year. The actually just to see, like, have I lost anything? You know, like, am I okay?
What are you, around 150?
We usually come in between 140 and 160. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've seen all those numbers. And my daughter was like, well, you know, Dad, because she's a psychologist too. And she's like, you know, you can only go so far with IQ. I go, honey, look, here's the deal. It's one test. I just am testing myself. I'm not trying to recommend everybody do it, although I think everybody should do it. It's a good thing to do. See if you're in this stability range. IQ does change over time. It absolutely does. We used to believe, okay, it can't change. Really? Wow. Our capacity to learn absolutely does change over time. You know how you know? Because look at your phone and look how, if your phone leaves, does your brain leave too? Most people's do, right? That's just a fact. I try to get everybody when they come to my house to turn their phone off. Just turn it off. Mine's off. Okay. And I want them to turn theirs off because I want to turn their brain on. I want to give them a chance at being conscious and determining their own behavior as opposed to predeterminism. Phone, message from Rex. That's determined, man. I do it because I have to do it, right? And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I've got to do something. I have to swipe, get rid of it. You know, I have to respond to it. I got to look at it. You know, if I get mail from the IRS, I have to open it. Much of life is determined, right? And we'll have the conversation. We'll do that conversation in the course, and we'll go in depth as to how to take back control of your life and why we don't. Why don't we do that? It's stressful. It's a lot of work to take control. You know, we only want to Google one time and take the first response that comes up, which is usually sponsored, you know, or AI generated, which could be wonderful, by the way. AI does a pretty good job, and sometimes it's a disaster, you know. So anyhow, okay, let's see what we got next. Where are we going now? The domino effect, right? So, right, every single thing because what Catherine does, Catherine and Rex are I don't know if they're friends, and you guys, you don't have to address this, but let's just say that they are, because whatever they talk about or whatever they email about, that is probably going to impact my life. And we've talked about Catherine, I think, twice or three times. Late at night we'll be chatting, and yeah, that Patrick, that's totally right. The about 15 years ago, I had students in my I had a course, a digital internet marketing course, we called it at the time. And the students were all saying, oh, you got to do a 3-minute videos and stick to 3-minute videos. And I said, why? Why would I do that? Do I really want somebody who can actually believe that they learned something in 3 minutes? 3 minutes? That's just ridiculous. Music, fine. Give me a 3-minute song. No problem. I can handle the break, the distraction. But if it's shorter than an hour, what happened? I can't pull it off. And people need time to process as you're communicating. They need the distractions to let it process. Just like when you dream at night, you process information in your dreams in reverse of what happened that day. And your brain literally goes backward, and it gives you about 4 dreams a night, about 4 dream periods. And it's called REM sleep. It's a pretty simple concept. And so whatever there's three things we dream about, and that's all. That's really it. Hopes, fears, and worries. That's it. Those are the things that come out in our dreams, and our brains process it at the end of the day. And that's why we continue to live. And people who only get 3 cycles, they get 5.5 hours of sleep instead of 7. They actually suffer from more challenges mentally and in memory and learning. And by the way, communication is all about learning, memory, and all of that. So Patrick is 1,000% right. I want to listen to a 2-hour podcast. I watched a 3-hour podcast on the Bible last night with a Gnostic informant. I loved it. It was fantastic. I learned so much. And it was like, I'm always challenging every single belief I have all the time. But how many people challenge their belief? How many people say, whatever it is, it could be like a religious or political, or it could be spiritual, or the belief about how good a job you're doing at your office. Sometimes feedback is great, and sometimes don't listen to it. Do you really want to hear all that negative stuff if you're doing a great job? Probably not. I read every Amazon review on every single book I have. Every single one. And I've actually have learned things, but I've also been down and disappointed sometimes to where it impacted my day, because that's how we are, right? When somebody criticizes you, or they say they don't like the product, of the book, or say that, that happens. It happens, right? So it's like, and I'll just sit there, but I waste too much time if I do that, right? So I want feedback, but I don't. I've got to be able to control it. So I have to control it. So when you're talking to your friends, if they start to talk ridiculously about something, say, you know what, I get the idea. Let me see if I can replicate this back to you. So they're sitting in long-winded at the dinner table with you, or long-winded out on the porch, sitting back and relaxing, and it's a long conversation. But after a while, you're starting to feel down, a little more down, a little more down, a little more down. You say, hey, let's just stop for it. Let me see if I understand you. This is a persuasion technique that I've used for years when I want people to just leave me alone. And so I just say, let me see if I understand this. You believe that when the little cigar came through the solar system about 4 years ago, and it was spotted by the Harvard professor, I think it's Harvard. I think Harvard
professor Loeb. Yeah, A.V. Loeb.
Yeah. And so and you were using that as evidence that it's possible that extraterrestrials could come to into our solar system. Well, now we have evidence, and he was impressed. I was impressed. That sucker was moving faster than anything moves through our solar system. So how is that possible? That was my big thing. I don't know anywhere near as much about all of this stuff as you guys who watch Rex's show do, but I have little narrow bits of information do fascinate me, especially the machines that travel, and how fast you can go, and how long it takes to get places. Stuff like that is interesting to me. And so I just said, so what you're saying is that this provides evidence for extraterrestrials, and you believe that means it opens the door for others as well. Is that right? Now, I didn't judge anything the person said. All I did was just state what the person said. And then they go, yeah, you get it, Kev. And I'm like, oh, okay. I go, so how about we look at the football game on this evening? He's like, oh yeah, we can do that. So we can get over, like, we did that topic. Now it's time to move on. The domino effect is basically another way of looking at contagion. Okay. Because that's exactly what it is. And just this, I love this graphic because it is how we behave. It's like, there's one person, say it's me, and say I'm flicking that woman in the front row there, and then she falls back, and it just goes all the way through, because we all have the circles of friends and the people that we know. And even if you don't have a strong tie friend, okay, like Patrick's question, or not Patrick's, but the gentleman before, tattered, I can't remember the name.
Targeted Patton or something.
That's what it, Patton. Yep. And so even if you don't have a lot of close friends, you still likely have what we call weak tie friends. Those have a lesser impact in general on you, but it's very, very hard it's easy to persuade these people, but it's very hard to keep them consistent with their beliefs as you go on. So like Facebook is great, for saying hi to your kids and all that and whatever, but it's very weak ties, very weak social ties. And the contagion level, the influence level that I have on Facebook is very, very mild compared to what happens if you come to an event like what I just did in Jakarta, or boot camp that I did in Bali. Those are huge. I literally have control of a person's mind for 4 days. And in 4 days, if I can't change you in 4 days and get you to see life in a better way, in a more successful way, in a way that you want to be more helpful to people, in a way that you want to change your own life, wow, I've done something wrong. Because 4 days is enough to change anybody. It's enough to get that shift like this going and start them and move them in their direction. It's sort of like Rex's story about Psychology of Persuasion. He actually used it. He actually used the information that he learned. And that's why books are almost sort of like a form of this domino effect too, is passing on books. And I think you told me that you passed on the book, or somebody stole it from you, maybe one of those things. And
yep. I gave it to somebody. They never gave it back. Let's just put it there. So, yeah.
So they stole it. So anyhow, but that's okay.
Pretty much.
So anyway, okay, let's go on. What else do we have here? Yeah. So contagion. This is just a simple, wow, that didn't turn out very well, did it? I got to get a better scanner. Okay. So, yeah. Housing market crash led to a global economic recession. And the thing is people always believe that everything is going to be great, right? All the time. Because like in let's say 1995, things were pretty okay in 1995. They weren't great. They weren't terrible. And nobody would have dreamed that there was going to be a housing crash that almost destroyed the bank system in the United States of America in 2008, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
That's a good idea.
Wild.
Yeah. And then when 2008 came, I mean, that was bad, but it was still not 1984, 83, 84. The recession of 83, 84, when interest rates were 18% to buy a house, 18%, that was my first mortgage, my only mortgage. After that, I paid for cash for every house I ever bought. I was like, no, never again. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go into debt ever again. I refuse. And I was very motivated by negative. And so when 2008 came, I was very prepared. And that's when I actually bought my house that I lived in for 17 years. And just this year, it was the first year, because I wanted to be like this sort of digital nomad and I want to go to all the places that I've always been curious about, but I don't know anything about. Because Europe, I've been to hundreds of times and done hundreds of maybe several hundred gigs in Europe, but I've never been to Asia, and I don't know anything about it. All I know is what's told on the news. I know that the Asians in America make more money than any other race, creed, or color. I know that they're smarter on that IQ test, the Wechsler test. They do better than anybody else. Why? And I asked Hingranata Nikolai, I'm his mentor. He mentors thousands of people through his events. He is the biggest NLP trainer in the world. Indonesia. It's Indonesia. And most people can't even find it on a map. I couldn't find it on a map. I didn't know I had no idea it was right next door to Australia, and And I'm good with geography. So my goal was to like learn what I have a total void in my mind for, which was Asia. I didn't know. And I wanted to go to China just to say that I went to China. It was totally like on purpose for response. I wanted to see what people's response. Oh, Utah Spice. Amen. Amen. It costs you millions. I have a story for you, Utah Spice. My daughter comes downstairs. It was 2009, first year in the new house. And Jessie comes down. She's like, Dad, I was just online and I read an article that says your book, Science of Influence, is the 8th most downloaded book on planet Earth. And I said, really? And she's like looking at me like I should be excited, right? And I say, can you tell me where you got that? And she says, oh, I don't know. My kid's a psychology student. Come on, like you should know better. So get back up there and go find out. So she goes back up to her computer desktop, and she comes down. She says, "Oh, it's on Pirate Bay," and I was like, so basically your college education is no longer funded, is what that means. Okay, so because all of the money that would have gone at $1 a book or $2 a book to the Hogan account is not going to my account anymore. It's now been given to somebody else because somebody stole it. So that's just one story. But boy, I tell you, she got it that day. Intellectual theft, because we work hard, right? It's like you work hard at this stuff. Rex, boy, he busts his butt. I know his schedule. He makes all this look so easy. But I'm telling you, it's hard to have guests. It's hard to select, good guests, to find that people that have content that's valuable for people. So anyhow, so the contagion effect, basically, panic. When like right now we have the airline industry is a disaster right now because of what's going on out in EWR and Philadelphia. Why is it that in the United States of America we go 20 years without an airplane crash, and then we have 57 people die in a plane crash above basically Washington, D.C. with a helicopter, with a military helicopter. And then all of a sudden we have all these planes, literally, this is a lot. There is a number of planes that have bumped rudders, the back wings against other, leaving the gate. That's driving, and that's disturbing. And I mentioned in my newsletter, I told people, I go, and by the way, the newsletter doesn't cost anything. It's literally there just, for you. But I told people, I go, expect to see more of this in the next year, because these are the kind of things that really capture people's attention, and you're not consciously thinking about it as a pilot. You certainly are going through your normal checklist and you blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But because that piece of data went into your brain and it's sitting back here, well, it's sitting back there and it's going to happen again. And so don't be surprised if you see continued air incidents on the ground and in the air. Don't be surprised. Because I've traveled a lot this last year, internationally and the U.S., and the U.S. is disturbing. The number of people acting like idiots on board planes this year, I've never seen so many. Wow. Contagion, and it's memetics, it's memes, right? The meme jumps from one mind to another. People start to believe that it's really okay to go ahead and stand up while the plane is moving on the ground. Like, don't do that. Like, you're going to get hurt, like, I don't care what you do, but don't stand up when the plane is moving on the ground. In the air, your odds are really good. Everything is going to be fine. But on the ground, no, never. And people don't, and they're being rude, and they're doing weird things, and pilots are doing weird things. I've just never seen it, but it makes total sense because it's memetics, it's the contagion effect, and it's how it works. Once it happens, the dominoes happen, and it's going to happen. It will eventually trail off, and it will eventually go out, because the FAA and all these other organizations, pilots unions, will say, hey, we have to do retraining and we have to go through this. And as soon as they start to address it in a logical way and sort of stop it, just like you stop your friend, you summarize the problem. Hey guys, we see this problem. Here's the way that you keep people from, I came back on United. Where was I? Coming back from China. And I was landing in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. And they were brilliant on United. They've done this now. And what they do is they don't just say, please fasten your seatbelts and please stay in your seats until the plane has come to a complete stop. And I have told you that it's okay to get your luggage. And people actually paid attention. They actually paid attention, and they would come through. And even, I'm one of those people who forgets like the seatbelt thing. I'm usually not paying attention to anybody. But she came and she said, shoulder strap. They now have shoulder straps on some of the United flights, right? So by telling people specifically the behavior to do and then checking and sort of enforcing gently and kindly, that's a really good strategy for stopping these things. That 0, if you look at the 0 in there, that's you, guys, that's you. You're the 0. I hate to say it that way. 0 represents infinity. Let's say that it represents infinity, okay? And if you look at this, say that you have 4 really good friends, okay? Those 4 friends are, as you can see, each have influences. Some of them have, let's see, friend number 1 has 4 friends, friend number 4 has 4 friends, friend number 3 has 3 friends, and friend number 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 friends. That's pretty typical. This is a pretty normal chart. And you can see how your behavior changes the behavior of all of the people all the way out to now what we know is tier 3. We used to think it was just went out to T2, but it does go to tier 3. They've now proven that too. It's about 16%. Okay, so if person number 9, what this means to you is this: if person number 9 out there goes and just say they're smoking meth today or something, they're doing meth or they're doing some horrible drug, that increases the probability that you'll do something incredibly stupid similar to that too. All right, and by about 16%. Let's say that you had a 1% chance. Now it's up to 1.16. Let's say that it was a 50% chance. Now you're up to 60% chance. So these are very real, going both ways. And that's why it's important to pick person number 1, 2, 3, 4 in your life that has a value structure that you respect. A value structure that you respect. It doesn't mean are they the same religion as you or the same political party. It means, how do they treat people? How do they take care of their kids? Do they actually love their kids? Do they take care of their wife, their husband, their family, their friends? Do they seriously engage and care when something bad goes on? That's what you're looking for in friends, and that matters a lot. And that's reselection is okay. It's painful sometimes, by the way, but it's okay. And I've done it several times in my life. I've had to cut ties, and boy, it's hard. It's hard, but it's in my best interest, which makes it in the best interest. In my case, I impact a lot of people, just like Rex does. Rex is on the podcast, but I'm going live and I'm talking with people in an audience for 4 solid days, and I've got their brain in my hand. It's like, you want to make sure the person you put in charge of your brain, because I'm going to determine that you're going to do good for other people. That is sort of like my personal goal. Like, I want the world to be seriously a better place. Using the 1% rule, very simple rule. Just leave everybody 1% better off than when you saw them. It's pretty cool. 1% better off than when you saw them. That's how you can get rid of these problems in your life, is like just always making things 1% better every single day. And 1% a day just isn't hard. And the accumulation effect of that is 360. You'd think it's 365. It's actually a lot more, but let's call it 365% in the course of a year of making the people around you's life better. I had a friend, my friend Devin, the other day I came back into Minnesota from overseas, and he says, you know what? He says, when you talk to an audience, at the theater, at a theater or a stadium or whatever, he says, you got to realize that you impact them forever, because you always say one thing that they take home and they go, gosh, I got to do that. I got to be a better dad. I got to be a better mom. I got to be a better kid. I've got to be a better son, and they actually take 1 or 2 things to heart, and they actually put it into their world. And I say, well, how the hell do you know that? You don't know that. I said, I might not have that impact. You might be overestimating. He says, did you know that your friends, the people that you impact, talk to me and they tell me about you because they know that we're buddies? And I'm like, okay, I believe it. Yeah, great diagram. Oh, we were talking about this. Strong social ties, those are where people are really tightly connected. Does it stop there? By the way, I wonder. Well, it's okay. So there we go. So the weak ties on the right hand side, we have tons of these people in our life. the impact of them on you is not as much. And the reason is because we can only tolerate about 150 people total that we know and actually like have a stable connection with. So like the 5,000 people on my Facebook, while each one is my friend, then that's fine. That's cool. And they can say that, you know, I'm a really good friend of Kevin's, and that's fine too. But the impact that they're going to have on me is very, very tiny. But the connection through the strong ties, on the other hand, is huge. That's really, really big. And that's where we want to really start. We want those strong ties to be doing us right, and we want to do them right. We want to try to do as many good things as we can because we're going to impact all these people. So if you notice that some people have stuff going wrong all the time, it's like you want to try to grab them and say, hey, it's interesting because you had this go wrong this month, and this go wrong this month, and this go wrong this month, and this go wrong this month. I noticed that. And it's like, you used to not be like that when you were a kid, but it started sometime, and then you surrounded yourself with people who were okay with that, you know, that everything was going wrong in your life. But Rex wants me to stop drinking, you know, so I've got to, you would think it was vodka, almost vodka. But Rex wasn't here, so I got away with that one. Water. It's in the hand, Rex. Every time.
Well, I don't know, man. Vodka and Diet Coke.
Nah.
I mean, you might. I mean, if you're gonna go out, you might as well. But yeah, like I have one. Like just the thought of drinking a Diet Coke freaks me out because I've researched aspartame so much, and but you know, everybody's different. Like some people will drink it, they'll get a headache, and some people can drink 20 a day and still influence the world. So, like I said, man, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
I'm really lucky in some ways, and I'm not so lucky in others. One of the ways I'm lucky is that some things just don't have an impact on me like they do others. In other ways, I have impressive impacts. Some things impact me more, you know, than other people. So, you know, yeah. And your badgering has paid off. Good. Your badgering has paid off. That's all I can say.
That's good.
Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, more isn't always better. More friends is okay, but it's not what the strength of. It's not. Each one of those is not as strong. You can't possibly be a good friend to 50 people. You can't. You can't send them all birthday cards. You can't send them all birthday greetings. You can't take care of all of them. It's just not possible. And so it's better that you have those 5 to 8 and that network, that your disciples, your the people that follow you, that you follow them. You want those ties to be really strong and really tight, which means you take care of your friends. You know, you do things that are good for them. Yeah. So weak ties are nice. Facebook is nice. It's cute. It's cool. It gives me a place to say something direct so he knows I'm thinking about him. That's cool, you know. And Catherine does the same thing. I just like this diagram. This is a fake news diagram, and it's basically why we don't know what's right anymore, because there's so much junk out there, and people will believe anything because the sales skills of marketers has improved over the years a lot, and it is much easier to market. Boy, I want to be careful how I say this. It is much easier to market BS than it ever used to be. Much easier.
Let me jump in on that, because actually I was talking about this yesterday and the day before. Alternative media, you know, so first of all, the mainstream media has been caught many times saying something that was bullshit. So people are like, wait, you know, I mean, how many times can I be lied to watching this platform when you finally just kind of shut it off and think everything they're saying is BS, even if they're telling you the truth. So then you've got alternative media that has its rise, and people get really hooked on alternative media. And then a lot, not all, but a lot of alternative media has become worse than the mainstream media, and they're telling even bigger lies and worse nonsense. And so it's like, wow, it started off as something that could have been good, and it turned into a crapshoot. And it's really like, that's one of the things that kind of burnt me out with Leak Project for a while, is because I was, you know, I'm reading these headlines, I'm reading this news, and then I'm reading the headlines on the alternative news that are getting the most views, and they've got the most extreme titles, the most extreme fear-based mind control tactics. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of the change. I want people to feel better, not feel worse. I want people to break out of the matrix, not fall further into it. And so that's why, like, you know, I came back from Tennessee, refreshed, and I said, you know what, folks, this is how it's going to be from now on here at Leap Project. Everything's bullshit until proven otherwise. And be the change you want to see.
That is one of the things that, you know, people walk around, your fan base walks around with that phrase, your tagline there, be the change you want to see. That's a really, really nice tagline. It's very elegant. It slides right into the non-conscious mind because there's nothing to disagree with it. There, be the change you want to see. It has no resistance or reactance to it. In other words, instinctively, people know there's nothing to fear here, and there's no argument against the statement. Thus, it goes into the non-conscious, and it sticks. It becomes mimetic. So literally, you change people's life by enforcing another person's capability of making a choice that they can be the change that they want to see. Wow. And so they can actually take control, some control back that was taken from them by, say, media or whatever. And by the way, the media thing for me, it was always, I've actually taken media breaks where when I travel, you need media because you got to know, like, if there's something bad happening somewhere. Like when you were in Tennessee, you had an earthquake down there. That's a good piece of information to have. When you were in Tennessee, there was a gas leak at 19 businesses and 450 people had to be evacuated or something like that, right? You need that piece of data. So that's beyond political. It just is what it is. And you need the data. But we don't need, if you're going to watch mainstream media news, then watch like Fox and watch CNN. You know, they're both good. I've done interviews with both. I've done interviews with every single piece of media on this earth, I think, and the BBC, everybody. And, you know, what I find is that the people there really care about their jobs, their work, and they really are well-intended. And whether I agree with them or not is irrelevant because they're there to ask me questions, and then I share data, you know, and I make sure that it's the correct information. I've done the research. I know it's right, or I wouldn't have said it. And very rarely does somebody come back and say, you know what, Kev, you were wrong in that. But it's happened. It happened one time, and it was in the book, The Psychology of Persuasion. It's nice to know that, you know, when it's hit once and out of all the books. But in The Psychology of Persuasion, I had an I-axis and Q chart in there that turned out to be wrong for reading people's faces. I had done the research incorrectly. I was told that by Northwestern University, and I challenged them. It's like, it's fine. I go, it's totally right. And they were like, no, do it right. So I enlisted the University of Wisconsin, a school that I had built and owned here in Minnesota, and then also the University of Washington, Seattle. And so I had the three of us do it. And I found out I was 100% wrong. And I tell audiences that everywhere. So like, skip that page in the book. But aside from that, it's correct. And I make sure, because I don't want to be the person who makes a mistake and then somebody goes out there and tries to convince their boyfriend, their wife, their husband, their kids or whatever, and then be the wrong piece of advice. Other people don't care. So you're telling me I created this mess. Well, no, I'm thinking it's probably the haircut. But
hello.
We'll see too. Oh, that's elegant as well.
Right on.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
cool.
I'm not trying to throw you off when these comments come up. I'm just trying to highlight some of the comments as they come up. So I know that you're like focusing in on something, and all of a sudden you see something pop up on your screen. So my apologies, but you can handle it.
You know, it's cool. I think that you know, I would love to see you do super chats so we can take questions and things like that throughout, because sometimes somebody's sitting there, but what about this? What about this? And they feel like they can't ask. But actually, when we do live, it's fine. Like, it doesn't bother me
Cool.
at all.
Okay.
And both you and I are able to get off track and get back on track very easily for both. we're like walking exit ramps, man. So anyway, so yeah, if you're going to do news, watch both sides, you know, because I learn a lot from both sides. I like watching Fox and CNN both. That's sort of like my if I'm going to be doing a lot of work with the public, then I'll watch both of those because I want to understand where both sides are coming from. And that really is helpful. Helps me a lot. And by the way, I also don't, it makes me less likely to have I believe I'm right about politics, whatever side I'm on. I don't have a side. I really don't. It's just, and I would like more people to take back control and like ignore all this stuff over here that you see on the screen. Like, get it out, like sweep it away, like determine what is important to you in your life. What do you want to do? Like, what do you want to see? What do you believe should happen? How would you like to see the schools teach? I've had complaints about schools for 40 years. It's like, I remember second grade. I take a test. It's addition. I get it done. I'm done. Mrs. Staples, by the way, I'll never forget her. So Mrs. Staples, she gives it back to me. She says, "Okay, Kevy, you got 100%. Good job." And then she gives the exact same test the next day. And I said, "I did this yesterday, and the answers did not change today because they're the same questions that we had yesterday." She says, "You have to take it." And I said, "I don't want to." She took a ruler. She slammed it on my hand. And she said, "You'll do it." And I said, "I guess I'll do it." So I did it. And so a little inelegant on Mrs. Staples' part, but I did it. I followed the rule, and for sure, real on that one. It's interesting how people approach education. So I'm not saying, by the way, that that's right or wrong. I can tick off a lot of people. I got sarcastic doing geometry proofs in 7th grade, Mr. Reevy's class, and he's at the front of the room and he throws a piece of chalk at me. I totally deserve that. Totally deserved it because I was just giving him hell the whole time because we had already done it yesterday and we learned, and if they didn't learn, they should be in a different room. And I was like, okay, so I'm not going to do that anymore. That was the last time I had attitude. Go for it.
I got to jump in on that. So let me tell you how much things have changed since that happened to you. 15 years ago. Well, let's see. No, 10 years ago in San Antonio, Spencer, his teacher throws an eraser at him. And I don't know what he was doing. He might have said something that he wasn't supposed to. But the cops show up at my house and they're like, "Do you want to press charges?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Okay, well, you're going to have to sign something here saying that you don't want to press charges." And I'm thinking to myself, wow. So I didn't want to, the teacher, like, I do not like that teacher. And I think he's probably not but I'm not going to ruin his freaking life and his career because he threw a eraser at my son. So I was pissed. I was upset, but no, I'm not going to ruin his life over that. Now, if it was something else, sure, man. You'll definitely see me be, the protector in a situation where I feel like my family's being threatened, but it wasn't like that. It was like he lost his cool for a minute. He threw an eraser at my son, and then that was it in class. So I kind of moved on from there. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Like if something like that was to happen now, geez, the teacher might end up going to freaking jail. That's how strict it's
which is very, and I don't like that either. I think because by the way, we talked about air traffic control earlier when you and I were just talking before the show about how hard a job it is. Teaching, whether you like the curriculum or not is one thing, but teaching, they are so restricted by what they can do nowadays that literally I've walked into classrooms that were zoos. I was like, this is just insane. Like, I'm like, stop it, and everybody looked at me like, you can't do that. And I was like, I'm not going to be here if you guys are doing that. I will walk out, so you can listen to your teacher. You can listen to me. I will leave. Okay. She can't leave. And I'll never forget that day, but everybody was acting crazy. And I was like, this is insane. And I did talk to the teacher afterwards and I said, so why can't you just say, like, do what I did? And she says, well, that's not allowed. I was like, you can't get control of your classroom on purpose, like by just saying, come on, stop it, behave. No. And I was like, wow. So no sticks of any kind, only carrots. That makes for a fat, dumb audience. I'm sorry. Like, you can't just have that. Somebody called it gentle parenting. And I'm like, okay, you got to think about it, but that's a whole different story. But nevertheless, we're in Contagion today. Let's go next slide. Yeah, this was the fake news piece. Right. This is where I have the most sway, right? So if this is a theater in Wrocław in Poland. And the owner of the company is actually down in the front row, sitting next to a girl with a white dress and another girl with white pants. And that's the owner. And so my job is always to make the owner happy, but teach his whenever you bring in somebody like me who actually does research, and I tell them a lot of counterintuitive information, I'll say the reason that most people will fail here is because they won't approach selling correctly. They will try to sell with a script. Well, scripts don't work. Engaging people, like what we just talked about earlier, like saying, oh, so let me see if I understand this correctly. You're experiencing this problem with the plumbing, and this is what's happening, and it's backing up every other day. Okay, great. So instead of listening for 4 more hours, so you actually can show the person that you understand them. So basically, you mix in humor with that, and you change. Here's the most important thing in telling a story, or if you really want to persuade your kids, your family, at the office, tell a story, but only tell a story that has 2 emotions. And almost always you start it off with fear or anger or frustration or resentment, and you finish it up with relief, the solved problem. If you just tell a good news story, oh, it was such a wonderful day today, this happened. Do you know how many people get upset by hearing that? Oh my goodness. Don't do that. They didn't have your great day. They worked their butt off. I watched one of my friends the other day work for an hour and a half. I went over to his house. He says, why don't you come over and just see what I do? And I was like, and I usually don't do things like that, but I was like, sure, I'll come. And I watched and I saw how hard he worked in customer service at a very high level for Wells Fargo Bank. That's all I can say about that. But it was interesting to see how he had to feed back to the clients of Wells Fargo in order to keep their anger under control. And that's really how you do it, is you feed it back, and you sort of summarize what the person is saying. So you got upset because this happened. They pulled your account plug, and you couldn't find this happened to me the other day online too. Almost the same situation. I lost my account. I lost my business account, and I was freaked out. I called my bank, and I'm like, so this is not good. Where is it? Like, and they like, oh, we had to do a reboot of all the systems nationwide on regional banks. So this is not just you. And I'm like, where's my money? And she says, I know you're concerned, but you're concerned because you don't see, but I'm going to show you how to actually get it back on your screen. Is that okay with you? And I was like, oh yeah, let's do that. And so she was beautiful, the way that she communicated what she was going to do for me. And I was calm, and I appreciated her, and I told her, you know what, you're great, and I sent it the feedback form even, because people need to get those, like they handled the problem well, and then all of a sudden they're in a little bit better mood, and you made them 1%. You did your 1% gig today, right? Yeah. So that's the cool. So the thing about being in front of an audience is that everything you say, the more people you talk to at the same time, the more value it is, and the less likely it is that people will disagree with you. Look at the audience. That audience is pretty okay with whatever is happening and whatever that guy on stage is saying. I don't know what it is. I got it on video somewhere, and it's also being translated. You can see the translation booths, the United Nations booths at the back of the room. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And yeah, back there. And those poor people have to talk at the rate that I do, and also try to make sense of what I say, which I find fascinating. And about 50% of the audience was not English literate, like they weren't able to understand and speak English. So they had to have it translated. And those poor people, I always go back at the end of the day and I say, I just wanted to thank you for making me look good. 1%. That's all it is. It's just a percentage. It's just thank you. It's 1 minute, right? But how many times do people say thank you anymore?
Not enough.
Not often, right? And so a lot of influence and a lot of contagion repair can happen with these little simple, just basic 1% things, just these tiny little things, and you can literally start to shift the behavior of your friends. Is it manipulative? Totally. People ask me all the time, Kevin, are you manipulating me? And I say, if I'm not manipulating you, you could be talking to somebody else. Like Yes, of course I'm manipulating you. I'm trying to get you to believe precisely what I want you to believe and do. I want you to do good. And that means I want you to do good by your definitions and the definitions of your friends, and to make their world better. And if you make their world better, my world gets better, because I don't have to deal with them in a negative way somewhere, like at the school, and get hit in my ruler. So let's see what else we got here. I think there might actually be one more. This is an important. Can we? I'm gonna have you take Utah. Oh, there we go. No, then okay. What that says, I don't know. I'm not sure I should have done the font like this, but people have no idea what they want until you place it right in front of them. That's what people buy. That's what people accept. That's what they believe, and that's what they feel is whatever is right in front of them. So if you want people to do well, you put a gold coin in front of them and you have them buy it for $3,390. And that's what you do, because it's a good thing to do. And if you put a silver coin for $32, no problem. That's fine too. And if you put a cigarette in front of them, the probability that they buy that increases. So literally, this piece of advice. And by the way, this is also a little bit of what we would call a supraliminal. You've heard of the word subliminal, where there's like, and we'll talk. We can do a show on subliminals someday. There's actually some value in visual subliminals, and this is a visual supraliminal. Okay, supraliminal means it's right there in front of your face, but it's very on purpose. Okay, so I took this shot of me, this is the night of the rehearsal, and it's a good shot. The photographer got a great picture, but if you look at what I wrote, not only is the advice the best advice in the world, it also is directly put onto the person in the picture. Are you following me? So in other words, not only people have no idea what they want until you place it in front of them. Well, what's in front of them is me.
You.
Right?
That's right. Oh, yeah. Supraliminal. Supraliminal. Okay.
Yep. Because it's right there. There's absolutely no hidden anything there. It's not a hidden message, but it's an incredibly beautiful, subtle message. And if everybody puts that on their photo of themselves, that sentence, and you're welcome to it. I mean, yeah, it's copyrighted, but like, go for it. I'm okay with it. Like, that's because that's a 1%er, and you change people with that, by teaching them something that's incredibly valuable, and you are the person they got it from. That's really wonderful, because people will talk about you in a really positive way. I love it when people gossip about me. I go, try to make as much of it good as you can, right? Let's see if there's another one here. There might be one more. Oh, no, there's probably more. Persuasion formulas. So let's now we're going to shift off of contagion now, and we're going to go, okay, so now we know we have a rough sketch of contagion. We'll do a lot in the course that we'll talk about later on. But people always say, you can't persuade everybody, really. Okay, let's go back to the time when you had a baby, or your wife had a baby. I love it when guys said, yeah, we had a baby. I'm like, you didn't have a baby. Trust me. The one in the bed that went, had the baby. And when the baby comes out, the baby cries, and the baby cries for 3 reasons. They hurt. They hurt somewhere. They miss. You ever notice this? How little children, we get in their face and we smile at them a lot when they're really, really tiny. And then all of a sudden, after about a month, like, you got to get work done too, right? And so you walk away from the baby and the baby starts to cry. Why? Kid's not being bad. Kid's telling you a simple message. Hey, I like your face. Please bring it back. That's all they're saying. They learn to love you that way. And then you go back once in a while, right? So that's cool. And the other thing is so they're in pain, they want love, or they literally need a diaper change. And that's the only real 3 reasons why kids cry. And we tend to have acquiesce every single time that they cry. Every single time we go, and they are persuasive from day one. And so we are persuasion animals from day one, and we're constantly trying to get things, all the time, and from day one. And in fact, I've argued at scholarly levels with people that every single communication is a persuasive communication. And I can't think of an exception, and I've had professors, debate me on this, and I understand their point of view, but I'm like, it's still persuasive. You're making a point, you're writing a paper, you're trying to find out the truth about something you want to know and you want to share it. I go, that means you want people to know it, which means you're trying to persuade them to understand your point of view. That's simple.
I'll add to that. So you are always selling something. Whether, you're selling your idea to somebody, they're selling their idea to you. You're saying, hey, look, I want to make the world a better place because I see people that are struggling at certain things. And so this is how we're going to make the world a better place. And then the person you're talking to might say, well, no, we don't need to make the world a better place. The world's fine enough because of such and such or so and so. So yeah, you're always persuading. How do you not persuade? Just by saying hello or smiling or not smiling or a response or a non-response. Whatever you do is persuasion, in my opinion.
It's a fact. And it's either making things better or worse in the world, and that's why every communication should be a little bit more stressful, because we should guard what we say more often. We should think about what we're saying, because most people are having a rough day. How's your day? How are you doing today? Oh, I'm doing great. You know what? I'm a psychologist, dude. I went through it. I've had people I don't believe you. I always tell people, is the day getting any better? If I go through the line at Target, and I went and got my groceries yesterday, and the guy who is checking me out, I said, is your day getting better? He says, yeah, it is. That's what they say every time. Just a little different frame. In other words, it wasn't so great, but yeah, it's a little better now. Why? Because the guy asked the question in a nice way, in a cool way that he'd never heard before in his life, right? Yeah. Get a little creative. This persuasion formula works every single time. So it's free right here. Write it down. Okay. It's only 4 lines. Get your client, your friend, your wife, your mom, whoever, get your client to tell you the disadvantages of what's happening right now. Okay. So I'm overweight. I'm 300 pounds and I really should lose weight. So, and I hate it because people look at me and they'll say, oh, you look beautiful, but I know they're lying because I look terrible. Okay. And I'll say, okay, that's cool. Pain. I'm looking for pain here. Okay. Have them tell you the advantages of change. And so you do that, but by saying, what do you get if you drop a few pounds? Well, I'll look better. I go, what else do you get? Well, I'll feel better. What else do you get? I'll probably live longer because my diabetes will reduce, it'll go down to maybe 8 or 7, instead of being at 9 or 10. And then what else do you get if you lose weight? I'm not saying take a diet or anything like that. I can badger you forever like Rex, but I'm not going to. So have them tell you the advantages of change, right? And once you have a bucket load of them, then you just ask this question, which is, so which one of those things is the most important to you? Here's the deal. How long I live and all that kind of stuff is not as important to me as how I look. I want to look a little better every single year that goes by. That's my goal. I try to look a little better every year, somehow. It's like I try to keep the lines to a minimum. I try to keep my face in the same place so the wrinkles don't come. But you can't fight it forever, but you can definitely try. So that's what motivates me. I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my word, there's no way I'm going on the Leap project today with Rex looking like this, So I'll literally trim the hair a little bit, and try to get it as good as possible. Way more than 1%. So what's the advantages of change? If I do that, we all know that we trust messages. Oh, well, maybe you don't know this. We trust messages from people who are considered to be attractive more than unattractive. That's not fair. It's not reasonable. But here's the deal. I'm not a psychologist of the gentle persuasion. Okay. My daughter will tell you as a psychologist, she'll say, Dad, you should never tell people like that. That's not good. I say, you know what? You're a different psychologist than I am. You're a different Dr. Hogan. I go, I will tell people that if they lose weight, they will be more attractive and they will look better and people will respect them more and their opinion becomes more valuable. And all of a sudden people will start to listen to them and they will care about them more. And it's not fair. It's not rational. It's not logical. It's simply human. And so I will always go with that. And so we have these little debates, like we're going out Thursday night, and I know we're going to have these debates. Everybody else is going to be arguing politics or religion, and she and I are going to like argue psychological positions, right? Have an amazing day to yourself. It was great to see you. So have them tell you optimism for change. Okay. So in other words, so like, are you up about this? Like, is this cool? Like, are you good to do this? Yeah, I think this will be all right. Okay. I don't ask the person how they're going to lose weight. I don't ask them that question. Don't ask. Everybody knows there's a billion things you can do to lose weight, but usually it's like calorie reduction. That's like the best overall strategy. Just reduce the calories, especially the carbs, right? But whatever. I mean, there's a billion diets, but just don't eat as much. If somebody asks me what should I do, I'm like, just don't eat as much. Like eat less, and you'll be fine. And have them, and say, so are you able to do this? Like you're on board, like you can do this, right? And they'll go, yeah, of course I can. I'm like, cool. Okay. And then have them tell you that they intend to do this and that they're really going to do it. So I'll literally ask them, I said, so now you can do it. You know how bad things are now. So tell me if you're actually going to do this, like 1 year from now. And I've done this on stage with people. So if people come to my events regularly at a specific location like Las Vegas, I'm at the front of the room 1 year. And if I see somebody who's gained a lot of weight since the last time, I'll literally pull them out of the audience and I'll say, you've put on weight. And I've had people do this to me too, by the way, but I'll say, you've put on weight. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I say, I tell you what, do you want to be at the weight you are now or the weight you were at last year? I want to be at the weight I was last year. And then I'll just walk them through this little thing right here. And then I get them in front of an entire audience. Tim was the last person I did this to in Vegas. And he might actually watch this. So hi, Tim. But I want them to tell me that they're actually going to do it in front of an audience. I like that. In front of another person. Because once you have told it something in front of another person, said something in front of another person, not just me asking you, but like a witness. Okay. Once you have a witness, it actually becomes ingrained. Like, I got to do that now. I have to do that. And that's really pretty cool. Like, it's really neat that you can have a person tell you that, because once they say it in front of a witness, not just in front of you, but in front of a witness, they're going to do it. Like, the probability is dramatically increased. So that's a really cool formula, and it works literally every single time because they told you every single piece of information. You told them nothing. You told them nothing. They told you everything. So let's move on and let's see what we have. A few more really cool ways. So there's all kinds of products out there that are being sold and they'll tell you that you're going to become a millionaire, for example. All right. So is that real? All right. There's something called Price's Law. Price's Law says that 1% of a population in any subject, let's call it income. Okay. 1% of all of the people in income are going to have 50% of the wealth. Okay, 1%. It says that 1% of all the doctoral students are going to publish 50% of all the papers for the rest of their lives. 1% will publish 50%. 1% of all the real estate agents sell 50% of all the houses. Okay, 1% of all of the money that is in the world is going to be held by 50% of the money of all the money in the world is going to be held by 1% of the people. Now, this can vary a little from year to year, right? But it's Price's Law. It applies to pretty much everything. 50% of the value of gifts that you give to your spouse is going to be given in 1% of the gifts. So in other words, you can give your wife, what I did is every single day I'd go get flowers. And we have this huge garden around the house, and it's like, I've got thousands of flowers, and I would bring in flowers every single day. And then she started to do it, right? She'd bring them in. And that's really cool when you start to do that, because you realize that on some days it's not going to do anything. But when people say you're going to become a millionaire, and if you just come into this course, you will, well, that's not right, because not everybody can be a millionaire unless we have inflation. I actually have, my son and I went and saw the Bare Naked Ladies in concert maybe 8 years ago. And there's a picture of of us online and meeting them. And we brought $1 trillion bill from Zimbabwe, $1 trillion bill from Zimbabwe. And we had them sign it because in their song, it's like, the whole universe has been for Big Bang Theory, right? They did that song. And my son and I were going to ask them questions about it. And so, because we got invited backstage, it was pretty cool. But we wanted to autograph the bill because we just love them, and the bill represents their music to us. It's like it's so juxtaposed. It's so like it's $1 trillion bill, so you're a trillionaire, but it's really only worth about 3 cents, 4 cents. Okay, so in real money, most people won't become millionaires. Most aren't going to be, and it's okay. But people can do it, but it takes stress to get there because we're not trained. Anybody can make money. By the way, income is irrelevant almost. It's not what you earn. It's literally what you keep. And that's why gold and silver and those kind of things. That's why, in the other room here, I'm at a hotel in Minneapolis right now. And, because I've been traveling. And so I'm not home literally, but I still have some of the things that I can't have anywhere else. I have a ring that Elvis Presley wore in 1976 and gave to one of his security guards. And I have a photo of him wearing it at several concerts, and now I have it. And so that ring, if I tell security, like, oh, I have Elvis Presley's ring, then all of a sudden I have to declare it on customs. So I just wear the ring, and it's really obnoxiously large. It's huge, just like because he basically was the bling inventor, right? And I own autographs that he has and all that kind of stuff, and all of that stuff is well protected and guarded, in a very safe facility right now. So, but here's the deal. Out of all of the Elvis Presley fans on planet Earth, there were millions and millions, and still are actually, only 12 own the majority of his items outside of Graceland, his home. Only 12 of us own the vast majority of his items. Almost no one else does. It's interesting when you think about it. So it's Price's Law, right? 12 people out of millions of fans, millions. Okay. I have Paul McCartney autographs. I don't have any of his owned items. I don't have any of John Lennon's. Those are people that I'll get to eventually. But anyhow, so the point is that there's value in those kind of things because of Price's Law, because most people will simply buy a picture or, something that's like not is tangibly valuable, but that's never going to go down in value. Those kind of things never change. One of the collectors that I hang out with, his name is Bud Glass, and Bud, he authenticates all my autographs that I get, that I get from celebrities. So if I didn't actually get this from the celebrity, like Pam Anderson, I've got hers and several others that I got in person. But if I don't actually meet them, you got to get it authenticated. So the same is true with rings and things like that. So in the persuasion world, I'm not persuaded. You can't sell that ring in there for what it's worth beyond the diamonds and the gold unless you can prove that it was on his finger, right? You have to be able to, right. If you want to persuade, you have to have proof. And so what people miss out on is and the reason they fail is they fail to provide proof, evidence that this really works, whatever this is. So always be willing to provide evidence. Don't just tell people, oh yeah, I hate this, what they did the other day because of this. So provide evidence. Like, here's what really happened. Ding, 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 ding. And then verify it. Go to Wikipedia, look, is that what really happened? Yeah, no, there you go. That's what really happened. I'm not saying Wikipedia is perfect, right? It's just a good source. So anyhow, so Price's Law is really important to think. So when people tell you, oh yeah, you can do venture capital and you're just going to get rich overnight. Okay, so I actually did the math, and Nate Silver has done the math. We're both pretty good at stats. He's a little better than I am. I admit it. I don't like it, but I admit it. But we came up with the same conclusion. The vast majority of projects will lose money, and you will lose all of your money in venture capital projects. However, if you bought every single one of the venture capital projects, you would actually end up wealthy. Unfortunately, that would require billions of dollars. So you have this really conundrum. It's like if you do venture capital, fine, but you have to know that you're not going to make money. I mean, I tell this to everybody. It's like there's easier ways to make money than venture capital. But if you're willing to get with a cluster of people that are maybe 50 people that are millionaires and then go buy 2,000 venture capital project investments, then your probability is one of them will actually work out. But almost is Price's law. It's the same exact thing. So understand that, and that really helps a lot. Value is elicitation. That means they're basically a waste of time. So if I say, Rex, what's most important to you in life? You're going to tell me something. So by the way, let's play this game. Let's play this game. Rex, what's most important in life to you?
Health and family.
Say, what's the first one?
Health.
Health. And then what's the second one?
Family.
Hang on, let me grab a pen. Okay. I'm not your therapist. Hold on for a flash here. Okay, so we're going to do this. Okay. Yeah, pen. See, the trade is calling, and I must go.
Right on.
It's there to remind me, like, don't go past 3:00. So anyway,
nice.
So there's a lot of trades on. There's 13 today. Health and family. Okay. Next thing. What else is important in life to you? Experiences. Example, please, so I can wrap my mind around that.
Like anything that gets you out of the house, hiking a mountain, riding a bike over Wolf Creek Pass, going to Grand Canyon, just doing something that gives you a chance to build an experience with somebody.
Cool. Next thing. What else is important in life?
Helping others is very important.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Helping others. That's interesting. All right. And how do you see yourself as helping most people? The majority of people?
By giving them keys to unlock things that have imprisoned their thought process, helping them wake up from the mind control matrix, I guess. Like, maybe somebody's been raised a certain way or believes a certain thing because of their upbringing, and it's created this prison of their mind. And so now they've actually lost a huge part of their life to these beliefs that have created a closure around their evolution, spiritually, physically, mentally. Like when I talked to you about Diet Cokes as an example, like, because badger's the word.
Badger and
yeah, exactly.
7 years? Are you kidding me? That's badgering.
Yeah.
We're getting a divorce someday, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, as long as we stay friends, brother.
By the way, he sent me he sent me overseas while I was in Asia. He sent me the coolest coffee cup I've ever gotten, because I collect coffee cups. Coffee with Kevin Hogan, right? That's the name of the 23-year-old e-zine. So, and Rex, whenever somebody sends me a coffee cup, it actually takes work to do it, because you got to get it created, because you want a custom idea, and you want something that nobody else has ever done for Kevin. And so he gets it right. And then he has to ship it overseas, and it gets, it's like, and all this kind of stuff. It's hard to be a good person. It's work to be a good person. So by the way, you're really good at helping others. And because it made my day, it just made it totally. What else is important in life?
The planet, the environment, because we're in a
eco.
symbiotic
Does it mean like eco stuff, like global change, climate change, and
like when I see big businesses that are pillaging the earth and they're getting away with it because of the laws that were passed, they probably had some type of influence behind the scenes with lobbyists, maybe not. That kind of stuff lights me up, man. When I see the earth or people being harmed and it's disguised as good, I get furious.
Yeah. I get it. I can see.
I get emotional, man. I get emotional.
Did you watch how his hands went from da 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 to this, just like that? Go watch that part again. Just back it up like 1 minute, and you guys will see. And you can tell that's a very real feeling inside. Like anger is there, but it's beyond that. It's like disgust and contempt, which is really cool. That's why learning body language is helpful. We'll be doing that in the course too, by the way. So one more. What else is most important in life?
One
more chance.
freedom is huge, just the freedom to be able to do what you want to do, and not have somebody tell you can't. Like if you're not harming others and if you're, doing the right thing, you should be able to do what you want to do and not have some corporation or somebody tell you can't do that because it messes with their whatever it is, their money or whatever. Like what we're talking about as an example. It seems like we've had conversations in the past, and I've done podcasts in the past that might ruffle some feathers with certain organizations. And
sure,
I'm actually doing the right thing in my mind by sharing this information to help people, but it might not help some stock, or it might not help some agenda that so they have more money and more clout to say, well, we're going to stop that, or we're going to attempt to halt that. Is that a good way to explain it?
I love it. Freedom.
Okay.
Yep. Freedom to do what you want to do. I think that's what this country was founded on, and I kind of love it. That's why I like that Constitution thing. Okay, so now Rex just told us 6 things, and he started out with health and family. Okay, now here's the deal. Of these 6 things I'm going to list, you're only going to get to keep 1. You're only going to get to keep 1. Now watch, and do this with your friends, guys, okay? Just take exactly what I'm doing, because you'll find out what really makes your friend tick, okay? You'll find out, because this is really a hard exercise. It's really hard, but you will learn about them more than you knew earlier in the day, and they could be your best friend. And they will learn more about them, because Rex started with health and family. Every now and then, maybe 1 or 2% of the time, it comes down to the very first thing that somebody says, number 1. But usually it's not. Usually it comes later. And most typically, it's the very last thing, or one of the last things that people will tell me, okay? So there's all kinds of exceptions, but I've done this in front of audiences for years. And it's the most valuable exercise. But then you have to add this part, because what we just did was cool, but you only get to have one of health or family. Which one do you want?
See, that's a tough one. I was thinking about it. And if I don't have health and I have family, then I'm going to be a piece of crap. I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be helping them. They're going to be helping me. And I would feel as like I was a problem, like I was actually being a burden. So, I mean, if you're healthy, like when I look at health, I look at all those things. I have a family that makes me healthier. I have freedom that makes me healthier. I'm helping people. I'm being the change I want to see. I'm being what I'm doing what I was put here on earth to do, and that's to help people. So that to me all connects to health.
Okay.
So
am I correct then in reading that if you had to pick between the two, you would pick health first, and I would take family off the list, because I'm coming to compare the rest of these in a second.
Man, that's so tough.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
It's so
brutal,
tough,
right?
Because
it's brutal.
Yeah, like my family is the most important thing to me. I just don't want to be a burden on them. So if I don't have my health, I wouldn't be helping them. So that's kind of the way my mind is working right now, the way my process is. But somebody said, Rex, you're going to be unhealthy, but you can be with your family. Like, I don't know. That sounds like I'd be hurting them more as much as
By
I'd
the
be
way,
hurting.
unhealthy does not necessarily mean dying,
Yeah, but if you're unhealthy and you feel like crap, and you just, like,
I'm sold. I'm with you. We're there now. We won't, but you can see the value of this, right? Like it's like when you start to think of it. So here we are now. Health versus experiences. Which would you prefer?
Health, definitely.
Okay, and health versus helping others. There's a hard one.
Well, I'm not helping others if I'm not healthy.
Okay, I see. Now, do you guys see how the mind is thinking, right? How this person's mind is thinking, right? Okay, health or the planet?
Health.
Okay, and then health or freedom? Wow, that's a tough one, isn't it?
If I don't have health, I don't have freedom. If I don't have freedom, I don't have health. It's almost like they're the same thing,
So health is the answer. Cool. So now what we just did is a real values elicitation. And a lot of people teach just to write down a list of things. But if you really want to understand your friends and the people that you do business with, the people that you care about, I ask this question to people in business. I'll say, what's most important in your business to you? And they'll say, oh, well, the customer. Okay, so I write down the customer. I don't believe that's the answer. So what else is important to you about, what else is most important to you in your business? They'll say, well, profits. Okay. Ding, ding, ding goes off in my mind, but I could be wrong. And then, so I just keep asking until I think I've got about 6 or 7 or 8. And then I've got probably enough to do the comparison. And now when I'm done talking, I will have opened that person's mind to themselves, and they will have thought about their business or themselves in a way that no one has ever communicated with them before. Nobody's ever asked you these questions in that way. True?
True.
Okay. And so this is what makes the work that I do rich to me. It feels just so important because everybody's up there with typical advice and whatever. I mean, there's just so much. It's pablum, like it's milk, what we used to call milk toast. Just it's wimpy. It's just wimpy, and I really like to get into people's heads and understand who they are. So that brings us to the next thing. The biggest criminals, one of the groups of criminals that I really have a bad time with is psychics. Psychics are people who claim to be able to talk to your dead mother, to be able to communicate with the spirits in the netherworld and all that. And then they charge you. Okay. All right. And they charge pretty good too. They're and then they go on TV and then they make people cry. Oh, she says it's okay. It's so good to talk to your mom again, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So, but psychics do know one thing about human nature. We're all the same. We're all the same. What do they know? They know that right now you are skeptical, and you should be. You should be skeptical. And as a psychic doing a psychic reading on you, John, Bill, Catherine, whoever, okay, I know you're skeptical, and you should be, and I want you to be, okay, all right? I know that you have a concern for how money is going to come to you next year. Maybe not so much are you concerned about having money next year, but just how it's going to come. Like, how is it going to come? Is it going to be different than the way it comes now, like at the job? Or is it going to be at a different job? Or are you going to have an entrepreneurial venture? Okay. So you do have a concern, and I can see that in you. I know that you've had pain recently, pain in life, and much of it you did not deserve. Okay. I sense that you have had a challenge with a private friend, a close relationship. And I think that's impacting your everyday life probably, right? Yeah. Okay. Now let's go to the next page and let's look at what else. Everybody's experience. Okay. There we are. I sense that you want to change, but you hesitate. Okay. I sense you want to change, but you hesitate, because change takes effort and work. And at the same time, you want to do it. And I know it and I get it, but you hesitate. Just like people want to lose weight, but they hesitate. You know it's the right and best thing to do. That's what you know, right? You know that. And recently, you've been concerned about your physical appearance. And I get that. I really understand that. And I'm like that too. Recently, you've been thinking about a major purchase. Now, I have just described every single person watching this program today. Every single person. Exactly how, and the way that you make the world better is you make the world better by knowing that this is how people, I guarantee you, this is how they're thinking. This is what they're thinking. This is what's on their mind today. And I just gave you the template for human nature in 8 bullets. Okay. And you can know every single piece, and no one has ever given this to you before. The psychic has been exposed. All he knows is human nature, but he uses it for bad. You use it for good. Realize this is what the people, your friends, the people that you care about are experiencing every single day, your customer, your clients, your family, right? And so we want to literally use this and get them to move in the right direction. And they will tell us, remember the persuasion formula? We will have them tell us what the disadvantages of staying the same are, what the advantages of change are, what their intention to do is, right? We're going to have them tell us. We don't tell them anything. We don't have to. Now, if they don't do, like if they won't respond to that for some reason, I've never had it happen, but then I will ask in a different way. But otherwise, this works. Let's go to the next slide. I'm gonna move through these really fast, and we'll go seven minutes, about 7 minutes on this, and then but these are good enough that this is pretty cool stuff. One more of the psychic reading part. I sense you've been feeling overwhelmed lately, Rex, Bill, John, Catherine, Utah. I sense you've been feeling overwhelmed lately, and that life should have gotten easier and simpler, but it just doesn't. It always goes back to that overwhelmed feeling. You know what I'm saying? And I get that. Like, I understand that, and that you're there. Like, I know that. I'm positive, and I can see it and feel it, and, it's almost like, you take the trip and you're like, oh, maybe I should do this. And you're like, maybe I shouldn't, but you had a great time though, but you've been overwhelmed. When I look at the last 5 years, Bill, John, Catherine, I see it. I can feel it. And I can know that you want to change. That's cool. It's good to know that. And so I already know all this stuff about every single person on planet Earth. And the difference is now you do too. All right. Everybody. When you find an exception, call me. Okay. All right. People will see what you tell them to see. When you paint a picture, one of the great experiments we do with audiences is it's an old experiment. I learned it back in the day, like when the best speakers in the world were out there. And I have everybody say, look around the room. I just did this in Indonesia. It was so fun. And I said, because everything in Indonesia is like behind me, you can see the this is batik. This is hand painted garment, just like this side. Hang on. There's a purpose for this. This is hand painted shirt. Okay. And so it's hand painted. All right. And it's elegant as heck. This is the same as a business suit in Indonesia. Okay. It's a beautiful shirt. And the same person gives me this stuff all the time. Hing Nada Nikolai, one of the people that I mentor. Every time he comes to the States, he's got 300,000 students that have been through his programs. I've never seen anything like it. I was his mentor. I didn't have 300,000 students. I've had 300,000. I've had 1 million people at the audiences, but not students. Okay. So this is back here. That's back there too, right? So now I want you to look around and notice everything that's brown. Okay. Notice everything that's brown. Notice everything that's brown. Okay. And I want you to look around the rest of your room, wherever you're at, Bill, John, Catherine, Utah, and everybody else. And you look around and see everything is brown. Okay. Just look and see. All right. Then you close your eyes now. And I say, point to where the blue things in the room are. Oh, well, there's one behind you. Yep, good job. Where else? And then everybody's brain shuts off. Nobody can do, because they were looking for the brown. They were looking at all the brown things. And we call this a scotoma, where you literally are looking specifically like for one thing, but you can't find it. And it's there. I'm going to come with you in a sec, Utah. And as you're looking at all the brown, and you see all the brown, and you think that that's going to go somewhere, but then I ask you, where's all the blue items? And there's nobody who can point to all of them. It's amazing how the brain works. Okay, so basically, people will see what you tell them to see, and they won't see anything else. Okay. And this is really important in persuasion and influencing. If you're communicating carefully with people and you say, I want you to look and find like if I tell you to look at something, like look at that chair right there, that's not so interesting. But if I say, look around the room and find all the brown things, I can do that. No problem. And then I say, where's the blue thing? The brain didn't pick it up. It's not there. You might know where one blue thing is, or maybe even two, but you won't know where all of it is. You'll look around and your mind will be blown away. You'll see like, oh my gosh, there's like 27 blue things here. And I couldn't even find 3. That's how it goes at every single event I've ever done. Okay. And the lesson to take home on this is when you're talking to your kids, your spouse, people that you love, the people that you care about, you want to point out what you want them to be looking at. Whatever people put their focus on is what their attention is. I don't want you to play this game. I want you to play the game one time with everybody, okay, that you know. But that's it, though. The point is not to trick people. The point is to get them to understand that if you put your focus on all of the pain that's out, because I'm coming to you, boy, I tell you, I see this. If you put your attention only on the bad, the evil, the bad stuff, then we don't get to the good stuff. But if we can put attention onto good stuff or valuable stuff or insightful stuff or things that matter to your family, friends, business, whatever, that's going to change them, and they will start to see. And so when you point things out to people, they will actually see what's in front of them, and it's you. You're the person who may change this person. Expectancy causes performance. This is so important. So important. Expectancy causes performance. I've never said to Rex, I really believe in you. Rex, I really have all the faith in the world in you. I really never. You know why? Because he doesn't need that. Because that's baloney. That's garbage and everybody knows it. What's real is, Rex, would you do this for me? Would you do this? Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, Rex, when we're doing this, can we change the title just a little bit? And can we put my name at the bottom on there just so they know when they're searching, they can actually know, oh, yeah, Kevin Hogan. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. No problem. And I know he's going to do it because I asked him and he's going to do it. I don't have to sit there and say, I believe in you and I know you can do it and I know you have the skill and the power and all. Don't have to do that kind of stuff. And you don't want to do it with your kids either. Don't say that you believe in your kids. Tell them that after you've done this, when I told my daughter had just graduated college at 21, and Mark was at the back of the room filming in Las Vegas, my son, and he was 17 and in his first year of school, and I said, he's doing the camera work on camera one, right in the back, right, and he hates this kind of stuff because he's very shy, even though he's brilliant, and I said, so son, Jessica graduated at 21. How old are you going to be when you graduate? And he thought about it for a second. He looked at the camera. He's like, he's so happy it's not on him. I'll be 20. And I said, okay, that's cool. That's cool. 3 years later, he was still doing some of my events in Las Vegas with me. He was 20. And I said, how old are you? And I get about a 50% return on audience. I get return about half. And he says 20. And I said, and he had no idea I was going to do this. And I said, did you graduate or not this year? He said, yeah, I graduated in June. I said, and what did you say that you were going to do? I was going to be 20. I was going to graduate. I was like, that's cool. That's cool. And that's how you motivate people. You put a marker out there and let them choose. They don't have to do it as quickly. Speed is not everything, right? It's not everything, but it's a valuable commodity. It's still a valuable commodity, and it saves you a bucket load of money in student loans, right? So he ended up, one of the few people I've ever met, my son ended up with a profit after going to college. Utah says, as a woman who took care of a man dying from cancer, I can promise you they are teaching many lessons and helping in their own way. You are not useless without your health. Good comment. Yeah, I like it. That's cool. And by the way, I would tend to agree with that too. There's different kinds of health issues and there's different kinds of problems, but I can see that. I dig that. Targeted Patent says, Utah Spice, I have the utmost respect for you. Couldn't imagine. Oh, no kidding, right? Yeah. Cheers to that comment. Yeah, I'm impressed. Good day, Johnny. Nice to see you. So one more thing. We're going to finish on number 9 because we've done our time for the day. I think, at least for the heavy content. North Dakota wine. There's a great study. Really great study that was well done, several universities. And what happened is they gave men a check for $100. It's expensive to do this kind of research, but really valuable. And then the guy that they would give the $100 to would put it in his pocket, and he would then go ask a girl just to go out to lunch with him or go out to dinner. And if she said yes, finally, at some point, somebody says yes. So now they go out to dinner and they order wine. And there's actually a bottle that was the schools produce called North Dakota wine. Okay. And 50% of all of the students have a bottle of wine delivered to their table that's called North Dakota wine. And the other one is a Napa Valley Cabernet. I don't remember the vineyard, but it's a Napa Valley, very well-known California wine. Out of all of the people, when they paid the bill, he goes, and then after he's paid the bill and left the tip, all of the women said they would not date the person again who had North Dakota wine delivered to the table. Now that's fascinating. That's fascinating. And I'm going to let everybody draw your own conclusion on that one, because it's one of my favorite studies. It's actually in the book Invisible Influence, and I tell all the details of how it all worked. But it's just amazing the perceptions that we have about how people feel about us by what we do for them. So it's like, don't get North Dakota wine, and I mean this metaphorically now. Like, don't be North Dakota wine. Don't do that. Instead, get the Cabernet, get the Napa Valley. And I'm not saying just get California wine or Italian wine. I'm talking about something that's special. Treat people like they're special, because when you see North Dakota wine, you don't know what it is, and it looks kind of weird, and it just puts question marks in people's minds. It's so easy to do things right. It's so easy to do things right. Okay. All you have to do is just think a little bit more carefully. Obviously, in 2 hours, I think we've covered a fair amount on persuasion. What do you think?
I think we've covered more than a fair amount. Absolutely. And the persuasion tactics, that's going in the toolbox for sure. I'm going to be, I'll be using those more often than not. And folks, if you've been watching the Leak Project for a while, I know a lot of you in here, I can tell by your names and stuff, like you've been watching the shows for years, and I appreciate you so much. I do feel like we're extended family, very grateful. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about, especially when it comes to the way I present information, is from a lot of these tricks that Kevin has taught me through the years and through reading his books. And like when I got into Psychology of Persuasion, that book it blew my mind. It took me to a whole other level. And then I started getting into the hypnosis stuff and conversational hypnosis, clandestine hypnosis, covert hypnosis.
Absolutely.
That is an awesome book. And I realized, like, if I'm not using these tactics, somebody else is. And they're for the better. Like so when you think of mind control, most people, the first thing you think of is, mind control, like MK Ultra kind of stuff. Like they're going to control my mind to do things I don't want to do. Wouldn't you rather be mind controlled to do stuff that you do want to do? Like, because you're probably mind controlled to do stuff you don't want to do. And brainwashed.
You are.
Would you rather be brainwashed or brain dirty? I'd rather have a clean brain. So it's all about like how you look at things and who you're hanging out with. Like Kevin says, it's so important who you listen to, who you hang out with, because we're sharing ideas. We're bringing each other up. And I learn as much from the audience, I'm sure, as the audience has learned from me. And if not more, sometimes I'm learning from you guys and gals way more than I'm teaching you. But as a relationship, as this all as a whole, the way that we share these ideas, folks, think about how much we've learned just over the past 6 years, 5-6 years, how far we've gone in certain, like how many of you 5-6 years ago would read a piece in the news or the alternative media and would instantly be triggered to think like the end of the world was going to be tomorrow, right? Like the end of the world's always tomorrow. It's never today. It's always tomorrow. So you've got that mindset, you're freaking out, you're reading something in the news and you're going down these rabbit holes. But I started doing Leak Project, diving very deep into the conspiratorial realms. And what I've realized is most of that stuff is actually nonsense. Now, with that said, there's still some big time conspiracies out there, folks.
No doubt.
big time.
No doubt. No doubt.
Most of this stuff out there, you really have to kind of just, you read it, and then you'll realize that a lot of these news articles or a lot of this information from old conspiracies is just rehashed information that came from one person putting one blog post out or saying one thing, and then it creates its own realities within realities. So I like that. I like the fact now that I do a lot more research into things. I can say I'm wrong. I can say, hey, look, I got that wrong, but I was looking for the truth. It's one thing to get things wrong when you're looking for the truth. It's another thing to know you're telling lies and to spread that out. And that's what really pisses me off.
Yep.
And so that's why we're doing Leak Project, folks, is because we want to give you the tools to be the best you can be and make the world a better place, because we all need to do it together. It's not just one of us. We're all going to have to do it to make a change, a big change.
Fact.
Boom. Cheers to that, man. And this is just
yes, indeed.
Mushroom coffee.
Nostrovia.
Right on. Nostrovia.
Nostrovia means to lifelong happiness and health.
Working on that project, and he started speaking in Russian, and I knew right away. And I said something to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I was a spy during World War II," and started talking about this stuff. And then he started questioning me. He's like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "Dude, I know like one word in Russian. Okay, I would not make a very good spy because the only other language I speak is Pig Latin." And so
I remember that from school.
Yeah, man.
Oh, goodness. This was a lot of fun, man, today. Audience, great. Always. Your people are just the best. They're really, I've had a blast with your people. I've been able to keep in touch with some of them. Almost everybody that has written comments in the section has friended me on Facebook. And it's really, really nice. Kevin's red shirt made me choose my words too quickly without considering how it sounded.
I love it. Well, let's go through a few of these comments and just see what people.
Sure.
So leave some comments in the comment section, folks. So we'll respond to you, see what you have to say. Great to see you, Lavera. Glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Shondell, you're awesome, man. It's always good to see you. Everybody, Count Trumpula. Utah Spice, Kat. I think Kat booked, but Kat, it was great to see you. Thanks for being here with us. Look at this. Everybody loves you, man, and it's hard not to.
Thank you, Sila.
Right on. Well, folks, if you would like to make it to the event, it's going to be coming up here in a few weeks. We're going to get very, very deep into the different modalities, and just give us a little outline real quick, and then let's finish up this podcast. And thank you so much, Kevin. Much appreciated.
Do you want the outline right now, or do you want to wait? Do you want to do it next week?
Let's do it next week. Perfect. That sounds good.
Sounds great. Good. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you. It was wonderful to work with you today.
One more question here. So, Michelle, who reminds you of Aleister Crowley from Supernatural? Me?
No. She says, so you remind me of Aleister Crowley from Supernatural. Aleister Crowley, he was the guy. You know who bought his house? Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, one of the nicest guys in the world, bought Aleister Crowley's house.
And then it burned down. Did you hear about that?
No.
She's talking about the TV series. There's a TV series out there called Supernatural. So one of the characters in Supernatural is playing Aleister Crowley, and she's saying either you or myself reminds her of the guy that was. Michelle says it was her favorite character. Crowley's a fascinating person. Like I started studying his stuff years ago, and I couldn't even. When I first started getting into magic and hermetics and the occult, and I picked up his book called Four, which is his magnum opus, and I read through that, and a lot of it I didn't understand at the time. But one of the books that was so frightening that he did automatic writing allegedly is called The Book of the Law, and he's like, "Don't read this more than once, whatever you do, but give a copy to everybody." And so I think he was using reverse psychology there. But that book freaked me out, man. It started off like good and happy and everything's okay. And by the end of the book, it's like you've got these war deities. And it still kind of spooks me out to this day. You know what? That would be interesting to do a podcast on whether or not, like, did he really channel that information, or was it really just channeling from his inner self?
Most likely it's his thoughts and whatever,
let's see what he looks like.
Book of the Law, and it's really hard for me to read that kind of work because it's very negative. But if I don't read it, then I don't know it. And and I can't talk about it, but by reading, I try to read everything in my field. So is whether I like it or not. And that falls into the,
holy shit, you are Aleister Crowley from Supernatural. I knew it.
This is the guy from Battlestar Galactica, the lawyer on Battlestar Galactica too.
Yeah,
he's actually done several roles. He was in Numbers. He played a role in Numbers, the game. This great TV show, by the way. I think you'd like that one too. Yeah, he does kind of look like him now that I think about it. Right, he's a good-looking, fine-looking man. That's a fine-looking man right there. Fine-looking man.
Right on. Michelle says, yes. That's so cool. All right, everybody. Well, much love to you all. Have a beautiful day. Hit that bell for all notifications. Check back daily for new content. Jump on over to our Patreon page. We got a bunch of exclusive content on Patreon. Subscribe to Kevin's YouTube channel. Just type in Kevin Hogan YouTube. Matter of fact, I could probably pull it up right now just so people will see. I want people to subscribe to your YouTube channel here. So let me pull that up. Stand by. All right, here we go. Kevin Hogan, Power of Persuasion. I'm subscribed. Oh, wow. You look like you actually look like you've reverse aged as well. I'm looking at a video from 11 years ago.
Yeah, about a decade ago. That's why I posted it, because I love John's work. But we have an agreement with our speakers that we won't release material for free to the public from paid events for 1 decade. And so I'm now starting to release stuff that was old, and everybody's comment is wait, which one of these is like today? And that's nice. It's really nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah. This is the channel, Kevin Hogan channel. So you hit the subscribe, hit all notifications. I think this was an awesome video that you and I did that's on Patreon right here. That was over 2 hours, folks. You need to listen to that if you want to get some more. That's called the Success Algorithm. But make sure to join us for this event that we have coming up in a few weeks. Send me an email once again, leakproject@gmail.com, and have a beautiful day. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kevin.
It was great. Thank you, Rex.
Right on. Cheers.